Welcome to our podcast today, Ask Aaron and Ask EJ. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
This is Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. EJ,
Hello, hello.
hey, our topic for today, I don't know, maybe this will turn into a rant versus a podcast, but I just want to simply say, athletes, if you want to have success, just do the work. And what I mean by that is I'm finding that athletes aren't doing the work. In other words, they're picking and choosing what they want to do of the work. They're picking and choosing the intensity at how they do the work. And 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 so there's a whole lot of self-sabotage going on, with these athletes because they're not doing things the way they should be doing them. They're not doing them as prescribed, and they're second guessing what's being given to them. And I know because we're in the information age, it's very easy to kind of go and find a counter narrative to what you're being told all the time.
Right.
And with the algorithms, you can get fed a lot of counter narratives, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're right for you. And because none of those things take into account who you are.
Mhm.
Most of those are gonna probably be generic opinions, and you may not fit the criteria for those answers, for those opinions. And so, I find myself asking these athletes, well, you know, write down, I'll give them a workout and I'll say, write down what you did, because what I give you and what you do are two different things. And inevitably, there's always this, well, I didn't do this part, or I decided to leave this part out, or I didn't run this one as hard. And it's like, well, I'm giving you a recipe. If you don't follow the recipe, the end product is going to be lacking. It's just that simple. You can't bake a cake and leave ingredients out, or add a pinch more of this or a tablespoon more of that, or leave out a or I'm going, instead of pure cane sugar, I'm going to substitute it with stevia. It's not going to be the same cake. I'm sorry.
Right.
And I don't know if athletes think they get that. So I think they feel that a lot of sometimes things are optional or interchangeable, and they
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
understand the effect that can have on the overall product.
Yeah. Yeah. Do the work. It's funny, you know, when we started talking about this subject, Aaron, the first thing I thought about was work is hard. And I just started to think about all the athletes I coached. I started thinking about my athletic career. I started thinking about Kobe Bryant's and the Michael Jordans, the Wayne Gretzky's, the Tiger Woods. I mean, work is hard. And, you have injuries, you have a lot of things that happen when you work hard, but you need to keep moving forward and you find a way to keep training. And I think athletes want to find the easiest way to train where they're not stressed.
Yeah.
Like what's wrong with being tired? What's wrong with being stressed? What's wrong with not being tired and doing the work correctly?
Oh yeah. That's a
Oh,
big
okay, so I'm going to jump on the other side of that too.
yes, yes.
Like you can work hard and be stressed and so are all that. That's fine because that workout was tough. But what about the other workout where it's just like I did things precisely the way I was supposed to, and I didn't sweat, have a sweat coming down me, and I wasn't stressing? That's smart work too. So I think about work is hard, but work is smart.
Yeah.
Work is hard, but work is smart. I think about all the second guessing you mentioned, the second guessing that these athletes have. Like, why come to us if you're going to second guess? I don't get that. It's like, okay, you came to an expert. Why are you going to second guess this? I can understand you questioning, saying, how can this help me some
Right,
more?
right. Why
What
am I
should I be
doing this?
doing?
Yeah,
Let's have a conversation
right.
to figure out, oh, this is why I'm doing it. I,
Yeah,
I totally get that.
yeah,
I'm totally cool with that because I want to have that with my athlete. I
yeah.
want to
You
have
want
this interaction.
understanding.
Yeah, we want to
Yeah.
be a team, right? We're a team working together. I love that. So the second guessing I don't get. Generalizing is bewilderment to me. No one writes down anything they do. And they actually have phones. They actually have this thing they can use that's at their disposal that they
Right.
could just like take in the notes. This is what I did. And it's so easy. This is the work I did. This is how many reps I did. This is what I'm doing. This is how I feel. No one wants to do that. Generalizing to kids is like writing an essay on a piece of paper now.
Yeah.
Like they don't want to do that and they don't want to type it. It's like they want to go to Chat GPT and say, "Hey, write me how I felt today. Let me use
Right.
something else. Let me use Gemini's, and Gemini can tell me I feel this way." I don't get that. You see, that goes back to work hard. Work hard is work smart. Work smart is going the extra mile or doing the little things that makes you great. See, all those great athletes I mentioned before, Aaron, did the little things that made them great. And it wasn't like they were doing some crazy workouts or stuff, but they were taking notes of how other athletes trained or how other athletes or watched other athletes compete and said, "I like that trait. Let me take that trait." No one's watching other athletes these days. They're like, "Oh yeah, I watched the highlights."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
did you watch the game and how they interacted in that situation? That was a testing situation or a easy situation and how they went about it mentally and physically. But there's always this next thing I want to talk about, Aaron. There's always an excuse.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't do that because of this. Oh,
Right.
this got in the way.
Right.
Oh, I had too many. I had an activity for the day. That was enough for me. I don't want to be too tough, you know.
Yeah.
There's always an excuse, and then this thing they want to take a shortcut. They don't. They look. There's a smarter way because our society now has said we can take shortcuts to get success. So
Yes.
and so they think that's their mentality now.
Yeah.
Shortcuts are find the easiest way to do it, and that's all right. Take a shortcut, just do it.
Yeah.
And that quick mentality or instant gratification of success doesn't necessarily lead to longevity or consistency in their sport or skill that they're trying to develop.
Yeah. There's a couple things you mentioned in it and kind of resonated with me. And one is completing a task doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead to growth. It's how you complete the task is what leads to growth,
Right.
at least in sports. It's the process that you go through. And I think athletes are more completion oriented. Let me check that off the list versus, okay, well, what did that activity look like? What did that process, what did I go through in that process? Did you internalize what you were doing? So if you had three 150s and they're supposed to be at 70% effort, did you run them at 70% effort with whatever 3 minutes rest? Or did you run them at 100% effort and just went back to back to back?
Right.
Did you do what was prescribed as it was prescribed versus just I ran three 150s? And I
Right.
think that's a mentality because maybe there's just a level of impatience. Part of it could be, yeah, a level of not ignorance, obviously
Right.
not knowing. But then that's when you have to have the conversation with the coach and say, well, hey, coach, why am I doing this? What is this going to help me with? So you have a greater understanding and can apply that understanding to when you're doing the task.
Right.
The other thing is, I think this is a great term, generalizing. I think athletes generalize way too much. They generalize on on what they think it takes to get to some place in terms of their goals. They generalize on some of the mechanical things that they need to do. Oh, okay, well, I'm doing 2 out of these 3. It's okay. They're generalizing how often they work out. Well, yeah, I missed maybe 2 days of this week. They generalize. I think they use that as a crutch, or that's the backdrop for all the things that they're not doing, and they're not realizing that greatness and success takes a level of precision.
Mm,
And
like
I and it's something I always talk to the athletes in the gym about, is like, a lot of you guys don't know how to cross your T's and dot your I's. And a lot of you guys don't care to cross your T's and dot your I's. And that
mm,
takes a level of intent and precision that accumulates and reduces the margin for error.
right,
And those end up being the difference makers when things are close for you.
right.
And so you can have 2 athletes and you'll have one athlete, complain and say, well, yeah, I'm doing the same workout as so and so, and how come they're getting better and I'm not? Well,
Mm,
you have the same assignment, but you're not going about completing it the same way.
right, right.
And so I think that the term you use, generalization, in their approach to their process is what's killing athletes. I think that's a really good term.
Yeah. It's funny. I think about Jerry Rice. He wasn't the fastest guy in the NFL, but he's an all-time
Yeah.
leader in touchdowns as a receiver. And I remember him saying something. He's of our age, of
Yeah.
obviously, and it was competing when we were competing. He was talking about route running, and then his coaches and Dwight Clark and a whole bunch of other receivers talked about how, and you said this word, precision. He was so like detail oriented about, I run my route this way and I make this cut and do this, and the guy is not going to see me. I always noticed this about Jerry Rice. No matter until he retired, no one ever caught him from behind. No one ever like tracked him down. He was like, not the fastest guy, but he could really run.
Mhm.
But it's just like he was so efficient in his motion that they couldn't catch him. Other guys are struggling to try to catch him. But the way he went about his level of intention to give that, and I think that's what's missing. People's intent of doing the work is not there. And you said it early, the process of doing that. Like, I mean, the process can take longer. It's just you're trying to make it right. You're trying to get better. And I think when I work with hitters or fielders or my teams and stuff, I go, it takes, like we have talent, but that talent is going to take some time to meld and mold and mesh together to give us what we need. And everyone has to be accountable for it. I tell the athletes, everybody's got to be accountable. You got to do your thing and understand that process. But it seems like the work is too much for some people these days. But to be honest, you have to do the work if you want success, and then you need to, as we said back into another podcast we talked about, you need to be organized and able to pivot if your work is not moving in the right direction. You got to be able to change, adapt, adjust, and move forward. So that's part of doing the work, is doing all that.
Yeah. Nothing more to say.
Yeah, exactly, man. Well, with that said, that ends our podcast today of Ask Aaron and Ask EJ. This is Coach Eric Johnson, the brand.
It's Coach Aaron Thigpen, the source. We'll see you.